Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Can you see me? I am coming to you from South Florida. Can't wait to see who we have in the room tonight. I do recognize a few of your names. If you were here with me last night, welcome back. This is a workshop all about submitting online and auditioning. I'm going to tell you the ins, the outs. I'm going to show you a lot of examples from my work. And one good thing that's happened to me since last night, I actually did a self-tape for a job that's shooting in August, and I just found out that I got a call back. So it literally took probably 30 minutes out of my day. Didn't really overthink it too much. We talked a lot about last night just showing up in your authentic self, being true to who you are, not worrying about looking perfect. And so that definitely can translate into our self tapes when we're auditioning. So I just see a few more people logged on. Some housekeeping things for your workshop tonight. If it is your first time joining in, there's a Q&A section, not to be confused with the chat section. The Q&A section is where you can type in your comments, and I can read them aloud, and that's going to be how we communicate, because unfortunately I can't see your beautiful faces or your smiles tonight, but wherever you are tuning in, know that you're off the hook. You don't have to be on camera. So you could even multitask and just kind of listen to me in the background while you do the dishes. But there is that Q&A section. So for those of you who want to introduce yourself, let me know what you're hoping to gain out of this workshop. And I think it would be helpful to know if you're interested in modeling or if you're interested in acting or a little bit of both. I find myself after 10 years of modeling being kind of intrigued by the whole acting business. I think they definitely, modeling and acting kind of overlap. But if you haven't met me before, there's also a raise hand feature. So anybody who is meeting me for the first time, go ahead and find that raise hand feature so I can say hello to you. I've been teaching these workshops since 2020, so I've met a lot of you. Um, and it's all based on my experience in the modeling industry. I started modeling back in 2016, which there is a stark difference between what it was like then to get a job and what it's like now. And a lot of it kind of works in our favor, which is why I created this workshop because a lot of the submissions are online these days. Think of back in the day having to show up. And I did do that. I took the train from Connecticut to Manhattan. It was about an hour and 20 minutes. I would show up to a casting for maybe 5 minutes. And the most brutal part about that era is that you could literally see in their eyes and their energy whether or not they were interested or not. So definitely credit that for a lot of my thick skin. But somewhere along the line, around 2020, I got connected with 99, and I've had the opportunity to teach these workshops since. So it is always my greatest honor to really break down the industry for you guys so you guys have an understanding of what you're getting into. And it's basically all the information that nobody told me, that I've compiled into, I think I have a series of 8 different workshops, so look out for them on your training calendar. And even if you've been to a workshop before, feel free to come back and get a little bit of a refresher. Sometimes my workshops just kind of serve as like a pep talk so we can like collect ourselves and feel good as new the next day because this industry is up, down, up, down. It's always changing. And as models and actors, we hear no a lot. If you guys were with me in the workshop last night, there was a statistic that I heard that every model hears no on average of 63 times before they get their first booking. So, a lot of where I'm coming from is from that perspective of just trying to give you guys good energy and good mindset tips to really help you just continue to show up and keep chipping away at your skill set. So yes, tonight is a workshop on our self-tapes. And digitals. Raise your hand if you know what digitals are. If you've never heard of them, let me know. They're really important if you're interested in submitting online. They're basically like, let's get started. How about we get started before I go off on a tangent? So I think we should start with the number one question that a lot of people have. They enter this industry and they're thinking, how can I get booked? How can I get more work? And the answer is through the strength of your digitals. The casting directors often meet you these days through your images. First, they're going to look at your portfolio and then they're going to see what digitals you have, which basically shows the model in real life. You can do portfolio pictures, and those are sort of creative with nice lighting, maybe in certain settings. Maybe you have a wardrobe stylist or a professional makeup artist, and that's all beautiful to show your range and your potential. But the digitals really dial it back to just kind of what they can expect of who is going to walk into the room when they book you for a job. So number one, first and foremost, if you're trying to get into this industry, is having a strong set of digitals. And this also includes updating them often. Digitals, you can think of them like Polaroids, because back in the day, quite literally, they were Polaroids where you would show up for a casting, they would take a quick picture of you, and think about before the digital age, you had that one shot to master a good picture. So I give a lot of credit to the models who have been doing this for years. I kind of entered it when digital was kind of a thing. So they'll take a few and they'll pick the best out of a few. But back in the day, it was just that one shot, that one Polaroid. And they're looking to just get an idea of how you photograph, the most natural representation of you, your body language, how you connect with the camera. There's a lot that can be said in a picture. So, first and foremost, this is the challenge, and this is not always about booking work. Sometimes we have to start with the simple things, which is just mastering our digitals, mastering our confidence, mastering our posture and how we connect with the camera. So, digitals are a good way to do that. And then, of course, once you have a strong set of digitals, you can use them to submit to agencies. If you want to work with an agency, you submit pictures of yourself and they might give you a contract, they might not. I've definitely been told no before. It's part of the business. But also for castings too, they're going to want to see your book slash portfolio, but they're also going to want to see recent digitals of you. So one thing to keep in mind is we have an opportunity to keep practicing our digitals, to keep updating them. If you have digitals that are from a year ago, I mean, I'm showing you digitals from throughout the years. So I want to say these digitals that I took right here were probably from 2021. That was a long time ago. So it's something that I've just kept chipping away at. I'm also going to show you my very first digitals that I ever took in 2018 when I got signed in Miami. And this is when I kind of understood the importance of digitals because I traveled to Miami. I had an interview with an agency. He seemed to have liked me. I wasn't sure if I was going to work with him yet or not. But after the meeting was over and we talked for a little bit, he said, okay, we need to get some digitals on you. And for a new model, sometimes like this industry lingo is kind of confusing. Like I didn't really understand what it was, but then he pulled out a digital camera and I said, okay, I'm going to get my picture taken. And they're going to use these digitals too. Let's say you are at an interview or you're trying to get new representation. They're going to use these digitals to see how you photograph because somebody could look absolutely beautiful in person and have everything, but if they're not quite mastered on how to be comfortable behind the camera, their posture, their posing, or wardrobe, or have an understanding of movement. And that kind of shows the client or the agent that maybe you're not where you need to be yet. So it might not always be a no, it might just be a not yet. Maybe come back in 3, 4 months when you've gotten a little bit more practice behind the camera. But these are 100% necessary to be promoted. Like I said, there's a very big difference between the photos that are stylized and edited in your portfolio between a nice, laid back, down to earth digital. So it's kind of like a snapshot of you in your everyday presentation. So the clients are always going to ask for recent digitals. Sometimes these can be done on video, maybe a little introduction video where you spin, you turn, you walk. It really depends on the type of request that you're getting. But without these, it's going to be kind of difficult to book work. So I want you guys to have that understanding right off the rip that we need to get good at digitals. So like I said, I'm going to show you tons of digitals of myself throughout this presentation over the years. This is when I had lighter hair, highlights in my hair. But we're going to talk about how to present on camera because when I first started modeling, I had this notion that like you just kind of had to stand there and be pretty. And, everyone says you photograph well, you're photogenic, so maybe it will just naturally translate, but it is a skill. And it starts with being comfortable in your body. So I'm the first person to always tell you guys to work on that relationship between you and your body. Fitness, yoga, walking, meditation, all of that helps you really ground down into your body is ways to get a more healthy relationship with your body. But it requires good movement and posture. So if you just stand there the whole time and they're taking pictures and you're not giving them variety, they're going to know right off the bat that you're not super comfortable being photographed or you haven't yet acquired the skills. The posture involves shoulders back. You don't want to just kind of stand there slumped. You want to bring some tension to your body. So that involves the shoulders back. And one thing I always forget is to tighten my core, but that definitely helps give some shape to you. You're going to want to create eye contact with camera, but then of course you can look off camera too in small moments, tucking your hair, fixing your hair, hand in pocket, looking out, looking at, smiling, no smiling, soft smile, big smile. So you're really just going to go through the whole range of what you're capable of and give variety and variation. My pro tip for you is to learn the art of a smize. Use the raise hand feature if you guys have heard me talk about a smize before or if you know exactly what a smize is. This comes from my early days of watching America's Next Top Model with Tyra Banks. It is a very useful term for you guys to know, and it basically means smiling with your eyes. So one of the feedbacks I got when I first started to break into the modeling industry, I brought this whole portfolio of images that I had taken and I felt that they were pretty good. And the agent said, "Well, you are tall, you've got what we're looking for, but when you're looking at the camera, you almost just are kind of there's no expression. You just have what we call dead eyes. So I really need you to come back." And he did honestly say, "Come back in a month and let's revisit with some new photos. And I want to see how you connect to the camera." So sometimes that involves really smiling, like pretending you're smiling and then losing the smile, but keeping that tension in your eyes where it's a gaze, like you're almost flexing a muscle in your eyes. That's going to create a little bit of intensity and make it more captivating and more interesting. And you're going to have like a pull from your viewer to keep looking at your expression. And they're going to say, "We want this model in our next campaign." Again, variation is everything. Of different angles. So that's like a twisting of your torso, different shoulder back, shoulder forward, hands on hips, hands in pockets. As you can see, everything you just want to kind of make it look relaxed, which is the hardest part because you're not relaxed, right? So that is the duality of modeling is you want to make it look effortless, but you know that how much effort you're putting behind it. I can promise you there's always going to be effort required in taking a really good photo. I know because I've done digitals for years and there's only a few sets of photos that I said, "Wow, I really knocked it out of the park with these digitals." This one here being one of my favorites. I love the parted lip. I love the structure that you can see in my bone structure. I love how my hair is not, I have a lot of hair. It's not hiding. I've selectively put a little bit over my shoulder so you can show this. And the gaze is there. The shoulders have some tension in them. And we got a nice little angle here with my hand on the hip. One of my favorite digitals that I've taken this year. And would you believe that I have to go back and take more, which is crazy. I took those in January, so I'm a little bit overdue. But the basics of a great digital are always going to be black. Think black, but not boring black. You can pair it with different wash denim. Um, Focus on solid colors, no patterns or logos, no loud jewelry. Keep all of your loud accessories, your watches, your rings at home. Think simple, think dialed back, think blank canvas. And some other expected wardrobe that you should expect to be photographed in is your swimwear or your athletic wear, if that's something that you want to be pitched for. I know being based down in Miami, swimwear is a big hit down here, so I always pack a swimsuit aside from my regular outfit to take my digitals. And I go into my agency to take my digitals, but I've also taken digitals at home, which can be done, and I'll show you a ton of examples. Hair should be styled nicely, naturally, neatly, as close to your natural texture as possible. If you can wear your hair multitude of different ways, I think having photographs of all the ways you can wear your hair is super important too. Makeup should be very, very minimal. We don't need fake eyelashes or dark lipstick, lip liner. We're literally bringing it back to basics. So a very nice light foundation, a little bit of concealer, a little bronzer, a little blush, set it all in, brush your eyebrows, and make sure your hair is looking neat and clean. Typical poses that you're going to do is the front, the side, 3/4 is where you're not totally profile, but you're just kind of, your shoulders are facing 3/4 of the way. Then, of course, they'll do full body and a close up. So this picture right here that I've showed you, this is like I guess you could call this a 3/4 shot where is that a 3/4? Yeah, I think they call that a 3/4 where everything's in it but your legs. And natural light is the absolute best. We want to make sure we have good lighting and make sure we have different ways to capture our hair. I know for a large part, I'm speaking to the ladies here about the makeup and the hair. Men, sometimes I envy you because you are just so naturally beautiful and effortless. So go with that. What are self-tapes? So we've cleared out the digital section. It's a constant process that you can measure your progress with. And it's exciting to show up and try and see what the final result is. I know I always feel super accomplished when I've managed to take really good digitals. And that's what clients are looking for. Now, self-tapes are another thing that you can have in your arsenal. It's usually by request, where if you are submitting for a job, they're going to say, okay, we're going to need you to film a self-tape. And then you just literally pull out your phone, record a video, and send it in. They're going to tell you exactly what they want in your self-tape. I've had self-tapes where they're just kind of asking me, what my summer plans are, what was my most memorable vacation, and they're really just kind of looking to get a little bit of your energy and your personality. But if you are auditioning for a certain role, like the one I just did last week that I got a call back for, they had a very specific set of instructions. You're walking by a window, you look in the window, you don't really like your outfit, so you're looking at yourself. Then you pull out your phone, and it's a fake phone, of course, because my phone is recording. So you can always be funny and grab something fake to pretend to have it be your phone. And they're just kind of trying to see what you would do or how you would act out the scene that they might book you for. And so I think it was like you pull out your phone, you type in new athletic wear, and then magically their idea is that you transform into the outfit. So it's like an AI generated shopping app. And so they want to see your reaction after you're in your outfit, how much you love it. And so it literally took me 30 minutes to film, and it's kind of exciting because you don't have to leave your house. You can be comfortable. You don't have to drive across town to pay for parking and enter a big, large, intimidating building and step into their office and then do a live audition. So these are considered the audition, or potentially the callback. Sometimes they see your photos and they want to connect with you live on Zoom for a callback, or they want you to act out the script for a callback. I've had um, I've had self-tapes that require you to show your hands, and when you show your hands, they just want to kind of see this, this, and this. Just like a little flip. I don't know why hands are so important. Maybe it's about the nails. Maybe they just want to see that you don't have tattoos on your hands if you're going to be holding a product. But this is a really essential skill for models and actors. And I'm going to take you into a scenario and I'm going to ask you guys a question. So I'm going to need your feedback. So let's say you submit for a job with your portfolio. You've got maybe 8 or 10 strong photos in your portfolio. Just did a test shoot and you have all these new images. And you submitted your most recent headshot or digitals. And the next day, probably not going to happen the next day, knowing this industry, but let's say maybe 3, 4 days later, business days later, you get an email in your inbox and the client is requesting more material on you. Now they are requesting updated digitals and they want a self-tape and they've attached an attachment, a PDF with all of the instructions of what is required of you for this self-tape and it's due by 12 p.m. tomorrow. So what do you do? Do you review the requested materials and start making a plan to get it to them as soon as possible? Or do you review the requested materials and start making a plan to get it to them right at noon tomorrow? Review, plan, execute, and get it to them early. Hey, Tracy. ASAP, ASAP, ASAP. You guys are amazing. So yeah, you guys already know. ASAP is better, and I will tell you why. Review the requested materials and start making a plan to get it to them as soon as possible. This is an industry where decisions are made in seconds. So let's say they gave you a deadline of 12 o'clock tomorrow, but they're already signed in by 9 o'clock in the morning looking at all of the tapes that were submitted, and they maybe already have somebody in mind by 11:30. And they say, sorry, early bird gets the worm. So that can be the difference between getting booked and getting overlooked. So, another scenario. Let's say it's a swimwear client, or I just saw an ad for High Noon and it was so cute. My friend did the makeup on the set for them, and it's just beautiful models having a good time in their swimwear on the beach, laughing with a drink in their hand. So one essential thing that they would probably want to see is you in your swimwear digitals. So they want it done as soon as possible, and they are understanding that it probably will be taken at home. So which one would you say looks more professional? The right, exactly. So, what is the difference? Well, it's not a mirror selfie. You would be surprised. This involves clearing a space in your home by a window with a blank wall. So, we don't want any clutter. That's back in the day when I used to put my dogs in a crate because I was living with somebody who had cats and we were still accustoming them. But rest assured, my dogs are a lot older now, but they are not in their crate. I don't even own a crate, but it's crazy to look back on that. But this actually picture in the white swimsuit, I think I did submit that for a job. So these are just kind of things that you don't really realize until you realize. And that was the very beginning. So yes, it involves clearing out a blank space, a blank wall with natural light, and having something set up that's going to take the picture of you, not you extending your arm taking a selfie. So here's a little example. This is for Target. They were looking for Miami locals, special notes, and they highlight, and it looks like a lot, but this is where your attention to detail really comes in handy. So what I always do is I break out a pen and paper, and I'm going to write a list of exactly what is required of me. and I'm going to make sure that I check everything off the list. So they're always going to try to help you and give you as much information as necessary to help you have a successful self tape. So they'll talk about the wardrobe, they'll say, don't worry about your makeup. Um, and yeah, so here we have required photos and required video. So there's two parts. It's going to say, do your best. We appreciate any effort put forth. And so this is kind of how I do my DIY setup. It's been a game changer ever since I got this little handheld clicker. And that connects to your phone by Bluetooth. And basically, you can click the camera on. So it cuts out that having to run up to your camera, hit start, and then run back in place. You can literally have yourself in frame. You just hold a small little discreet clicker in your hand and you click. And let's say you have 5 bad takes and bloopers. Each time standing there, you can reset and restart. I have a tripod. I got it off Facebook Marketplace, always looking for a good deal. When it comes to investments, they can really add up. So, just letting you know how I did it, but a tripod is a game changer. I used to find a tissue box and a glass and a mug and try to stack them up so I could lean my camera just right. And I was doing it all wrong. Take out the work for yourself and make the investment. That purple thing is what we call a sticky grippy that can stick to windows. So I have a window right in front of me. If I wanted to record this whole um, scene here of me teaching you guys or talking to you guys, I could stick it to the window and press record, and then I'd have all this footage. So those make life super easy. I don't have a sticky grippy anymore. I don't like it stuck to the back of my phone because then it sticks to everything. But another pro tip for you guys is just to buy two and stick them to each other so that one side sticks to your phone and can be removed. And that is a little hack. So you always want to be behind a lot of natural light too, and in front of a blank wall. Set it up securely. And you're going to take your digitals vertically, but you're always going to take your videos horizontally, which it's okay if you break that rule here and there. But something about the phone, if it's filmed vertically and it transports to a computer, sometimes they have to turn their head to watch it. So I believe filming horizontally is industry standard. If you don't have a ton of light, or let's say you have to film it at night, I know a lot of busy and booked models and actors who seem to always be working. They have invested in a whole setup in their home so they can get the little ring light there that attaches to the top of your tripod, or you can invest in box lights too. I've also had people who invest in whole backdrops that kind of cover the wall behind them. So think of this wood wall here. Let's say I had a blue roll of paper that I could shine down, and then with all the lights on me, it would look stellar and super professional. And that's if you are gonna be submitting online like it's your job. And that's something to just consider for the future. These are, again, my most recent digitals. As you can see, I can also take them at home. This was done for a client that wanted me to send measurements in and just get a recent look. So I took those at my house. As you can see, smiling is okay. You have a soft smile here on the left. I love yeah, not an outwardly smile, but of course they want to see that too. So just shift it and change it up. Play with your little belt loop, shift your weight of your hips, and just try to be relaxed and be yourself. At-home digitals are the norm, so the key to that is light, variety, and just bringing those model vibes. I love this guy on the right. That's an example of like a look off camera where it's going to show you bone structure and it's going to look effortless. I love how his hair is slicked back. I love how these other people just leaned right up against a wall. It brings in texture, it brings in color, and your wardrobe is up to you, really. As long as it's form-fitting, no logos, no patterns, and it's not going to take away or be distracting from your natural beauty. That one in the middle is me from literally 2016. I was having fun with my friend on the weekend. I got an opportunity for a self-tape, and we took a painting off the wall and took that right by her window. So, to wrap up, the first half of this workshop is self-tapes and digitals. Looks like we're doing good on time. Reminder that your digitals are often the very first impression that a client or agency gets of you. And these really can be your foot in the door. So you want to give care to them, but also balance that with just being yourself. They must be updated regularly, aim for every 3 to 4 months. And the most special part for me is that I've seen so much improvement with my images and just my poise, my ease, my confidence, how I feel. I used to kind of feel on the spot and unsure and a little bit robotic. But that's all in the process of learning how to pose and learning how to move on camera. It is a skill set. So the more that you try and the more that you put yourself out there and take your digitals, this is the material that you need to book jobs. So if you take it seriously and have good material, there's no way that you're never not going to book a job. It might take you 63 no's, but eventually, if you keep chipping away at it and keep showing up, it's amazing how you can measure your progress in photographs and measure the way that you are captured and how your likeness is captured and how it can be represented. So you'll need a home setup for your next submission, callback, or media request. So remember, it's that little Bluetooth clicker, it's a tripod, a blank wall, natural light, basic outfit, basic makeup, and just a connection to the camera. So here is an example self-tape request I got from a sunglass company. This is literally their words in my email. Slate your name close up and then a full body. If you didn't know what slate means, what would you think? Raise your hand if you guys do not know what slate means. Okay, that was me too. Had no idea. Slate is an industry lingo where it means to state your name, where you're based. It can be a lot of different things in a slate, but the most basic is your name and your location, your height, and who you are with, what agency you are with. So you'd say, "Hi, I'm Alecia D. I'm 5'11. I'm based in Miami and I'm with 99." That's a slate. Now, to complicate it even more, sometimes they don't want a video of you talking your slate. They want it on a piece of paper. So you literally have to write it on a piece of paper and get a good photo of you holding that piece of paper. So there's two formats of a slate. And if they don't give you any basic instruction as to what they want in the slate, that is always going to be your constant, which is name, location, height, and who you're with. Okay, so they asked me to wear workout clothes, something form-fitting, but specified no swimwear. So these are all things I'm taking note of. Imagine if you submitted wearing swimwear. You're not going to get the job because you didn't pay attention to exactly what they were asking for. So this is very important. They're going to help you. They're going to want to help you help yourself and set you up for success. So most of these self-tape requests have a lot of details, so that's why I always revert back to my pen and paper and write it all down. Have them do a video with a pair of glasses, checking themselves, looking into the camera, taking the glasses on and off. It seems super simple, right? Good to do it in their home environment, but the light should be good so we see them very clear. Do a full body shot with and without glasses on, looking to the left, right, and center. Reference the example attached. So sometimes they give you an example, and here it is. I put that on my hood. I look fly, I look good. You can touch my bag, but you good. I look fly, I look good. I love the little kiss at the end because it shows a little personality, a little bit of outgoingness. And yeah, it really could take a few seconds. And it looks like she filmed that. If you don't have the space in your house, it looked like she filmed that on the streets of Miami and just set up her tripod and took maybe 5 minutes filming different footage and then chopped it all together.
Oh my, oh my, good, I look fly, I look good, you can take my bag, but you good, I look fly, I look good.
So funny because she's not wearing workout clothes or anything form fitting, which is maybe why they specified that that's what they wanted. But more about the slate. Here's a little intro. They had asked me to take a picture of my name and my agent and my Instagram name. So, like I said, if it's not the basic slate of who you are, where you are, how tall you are, and who you're with, they're going to tell you exactly what they want and how they want it. Do they want it spoken or do they want a video of it? So the slates are always the very first test in auditioning. So if you blow the slate, they're most likely not going to take you seriously. So make sure that you are understood and comprehended exactly what they are asking of you. And it can look as simple as this. When you are slating in a video, hold your expression or smile for 2 seconds before cutting the slate. You don't want it to be super abrupt. You want to leave them with a cute little lasting impression, eye contact before you just abruptly cut it. So if you think of your self-tape as your audition room, obviously you're going to want to take that very seriously. Now, it helps take the nerves off when you're at home. So we have an advantage, right? We have an advantage of being comfortable in our home and being able to do multiple takes of it. But we still have to treat that with intention, professionalism, and care. So all the effort that you put into the lighting, the sound, the framing, and your performance is going to speak volumes. It's going to show your commitment. Now, I've mentioned several times throughout this workshop that it can be done very quickly, but that doesn't mean that we need to bypass attention to details just because we want to get it over with, submit it, and forget about it. When you do put a little bit more attention, make sure you have really good lighting. And make sure your sound and your framing and your performance is on point. That can definitely set you apart from the willy-nilly people who just submit it and don't take it seriously. There are so many self-tapes submitted on a daily basis. So what's going to make yours stand out? You always want to film above your waist unless otherwise specified. So you don't want to do a whole self-tape head to toe unless they ask. So if you are answering questions, reading lines, or acting out a scene, it doesn't have to be so far back that you can get the whole body in and you have all this blank space. Try to maybe do a 3/4 where it's like, don't worry so much about getting your feet in it. Read directions thoroughly, write it all down. Most importantly, film in natural light. Okay, so this is becoming repetitive, but I just wanted to also mention to keep your submission tapes under 2 minutes. If it's over 2 minutes, ain't nobody got time for that. So there are ways that you can cut out silences and fast forward and clip them. I'm going to show you guys how to do that. A blue or green background is considered the most professional for filming scenes, as white tends to wash people out, but you can get a job either or. It really just depends. Like I said, I know my friend who's booking a lot of work. She has a whole at-home setup where she rolls out a blue paper. She's got the box lights on both sides. And another pro tip too is to dress like the part you're auditioning for. So if they didn't specify the wardrobe, you don't want to just wear whatever. You want to try to think about the role that you're auditioning for and make sure it kind of fits with that. Common mistakes to avoid: bad lighting, if you have any shadows on your face, poor framing. So if we had a frame that had a bunch of blank space above my head, that wouldn't be a good frame. So this, we want to make sure we are in a good solid frame. So keep a lookout for that empty space. It's just a distraction. Low energy, no personality. Definitely, like, I like how she like blew a little kiss after. Bad sound quality if your camera's out of focus. So it just sometimes takes as quickly as cleaning your lens, and you definitely don't want your submission to be too long. So pay attention to the details. I always like to do a test go through it and then I'll watch it back and I'll critique myself and say, I could have said this differently, could have done that differently. That was awkward how I did that. And so I usually roll through a few different takes and then I watch them all back and I pick the one that I feel most confident in. And also let yourself shine. Be yourself. Don't try to act like anybody else. Don't try to show up in some type of energy that's not you. Just be yourself because they're going to want to book you for who you are. So, for my actors in here, do we have anybody who's super focused on acting? Raise your hands. Cool. Cool. So, a scene, sometimes they're going to want you to perform on tape. So they may set the scene, and sometimes what you need in a scene is a reader. So I would start asking your network now who is willing to be a reader for you because I will show you an example, but they're going to want to witness a dialogue. So it's not, they're either going to give you a scene to perform or they're going to give you a monologue. The monologue, you don't need a reader, it's all you, one person. And one tip and trick that I've learned is you can refer to your lines, but you don't want to be referring to your lines. Let's say this is a piece of paper, and you don't want them to see you referring to your lines because sometimes there's a quick turnaround and the script is long and they don't expect you to memorize it all. So it's an art of glancing down and keeping your lines out of frame. And one trick too is to confidently memorize the beginning and the end. So if you can start off the rip with strong memorization and every line is perfect and finish that way, that's going to make a way better impression than if you were glancing right off from the very beginning. Because the beginning and the end tend to leave the viewer with the strongest impression of you, and everything in the middle you can glance down if you need to. So, again, not having the reader in the frame as well, the reader is going to be off to the side, in so much that the reader is kind of heard in the distance. So, if you're this close to the mic, the reader's going to be double that distance away from you. You don't want it to be all about the reader, and they're never going to be on camera. So that could be a specific scenario that you get for an audition. This is an example of that.
My name is Alecia. I'm Sharon Smith, and I'm 5'3".
So if anybody has anything to get off your chest before we pray, now's the time.
Well, I have this friend who won't even sit with us at lunch because we're Christians. Yeah, Brody. Look, it's not because you're Christians. It's because you're a coalition of social misfits. You act like you don't even know us. That's because you act like you're better than anyone else. I'd rather use my lunchtime to study, just so I wouldn't end up in some pathetic JC White mark. No offense, Dawn.
So as you can see, the reader actually had way more lines than she did. So they might have just been really focused on gauging her body language and everything on her face that doesn't require words. So I thought that that was a really strong audition. And these are all over YouTube. So if you ever want to really dive in and check out some auditions that later became leading roles, you could see where it all started right in the audition room. So one thing to note is that it's filmed horizontally, it's above the waist, and her eyeline is off camera. She's not ever really looking at the camera. As an actor, you want to pretend like the camera is an afterthought. When you're modeling, of course, you want to have that eye contact, but that's the difference with acting is that you never want to look directly into them like this. You want to pretend like it's non-existent. So if you're reading with a reader, you're going to always pretend like you're literally in the scene and you're not focused on the camera watching you or you watching the camera. As you can see too, the readers are heard clearly in the distance and her slate is friendly and approachable. My name is Natalia Dyer. I'm with Sharon Smith, and I'm 5'3", or however she said it. It was really cute, and she went on to book lead role in Stranger Things, which has been a amazing show to watch. Okay, so now it boils down to editing and submitting. I always love to edit my videos because I'll film 3 different scenes. At least for this last one that I just did, I filmed 3 different scenes, 3 different reactions that they wanted of me, and I had a slate. So I needed to combine them all together. So the best tool for me is Instagram. I go and I upload all the videos that have made the cut, and then I can see how long it is, and I can save it without ever posting it to Instagram. It just saves it right to your phone as a little movie. You can do them right back to back and it just flows right in. So we're not going to want to add filters to that, special effects, no text, no music. It's just purely the video in one video. So the less work the casting director has to do, the better. So they will sometimes request that you put them all into one video and send it off as one attachment, not 3 different attachments, unless they ask for that. So, how we send these in, has anyone ever tried to send an email with a video and it's way too big of an attachment? How the heck am I going to get this big attachment to this casting company to see this? There's 2 ways. There's Dropbox. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of Dropbox. Dropbox is like a folder that you can literally place files in if they give you a link, and they have access to it. So when you're doing Dropbox, it's really important that your video has a file name. So it doesn't just have a random smorgasbord of numbers and letters by default. So some castings have asked me to label my videos. So that would require me getting onto a computer and saving them. I think on the iPhone, you can also save them in your files and give them a file name. Life kind of got easier when I got a new laptop, but yes, they wanted me to label it L'Oreal_name. That way, when they're fishing through a sea of submissions, they're easily able to locate you and they know that you're capable of following instructions. Another one is WeTransfer. This is a website. I encourage you guys to check it out tonight. It's a free source where this is kind of how I send my portfolio pictures to my agencies. It creates a clickable link where it will take your big file, it will upload it, and it will share it as a link. So then you can reply with the link, and then once the casting director clicks that link, it comes up as a video, and they can download it from there, and then they can save it and put it into their file. So it's really cool when you submit via WeTransfer and you get an email that says your video has been downloaded, and then you pray to whoever you pray to and you say, please let them pass me on to the next, which would be a callback or a fitting or a congratulations, you got the job, we loved it. Actually, not really. This industry is not that complimentary. They see beautiful talent all the time, so they may just act indifferent and say you're not really sure what they loved about it. They might not give you any feedback, but they're going to give you a paycheck and they're going to fly you out to where they're shooting and put you up in a hotel. So that's always really cool to be able to travel and work at the same time. But when you are in the Instagram app, you are able to trim down the videos and cut out certain aspects. So play around with it if you get a chance. And that's kind of how I do things. That's a little overview on our digitals and our self-tapes, which are great skill sets to have an understanding of. So we're going to finish off with this red flag, green flag activity. It's really fun and it's kind of rapid fire. So go ahead and open up your Q&A section. First, let me see if I missed any questions from you guys. Glasses did not come on and off. You're right. Can you pre-record yourself doing the reader lines and then film yourself interacting with the reader? Yeah, if you have the technology to do that, maybe film it on an iPhone and play it back, or however you do it, that'd be really cool. Who I have a Bluetooth type tripod? I got it from Amazon for very little. Yes. I'm a professional photographer and I have my studio completely done. Okay, Brittany, when can I come over there and shoot with you? All right, everybody has some really good feedback. There's one other section. I see some people chatting in the chat. So we're going to go over to the Q&A section to answer these. So you're just going to tell me if it's a red flag or a green flag. If you were the casting director looking at an audition tape, you let me know if you think it would be a red flag or a green flag. Does everybody know the difference between a red flag and a green flag? Hope so. It's very important in dating too. Filming in front of a natural window light during the day. Is that a red flag or a green flag? Green flag, green flag, green flag. Okay, okay. I promise I'm going to stump you guys. Adding background music to your tape. Is that a red flag or a green flag? Red flag, yes. No music. Although that example that they sent did have music to it, so it can be confusing, but I would never, under any circumstances, record any music. Wearing logos or patterned clothing for digitals. Is that a red flag or a green flag? Red flag, we want to wear plain clothes, solid colors, not anything distracting, no neon, no yellow. We want to stick with the basics, black, gray, tan, white. Looking directly into the camera when performing a scene or reciting lines. That is a red flag. We want to just be just off our eyesight, just off of the camera if we are submitting for an acting role. Modeling is totally different. Filming in light that casts harsh shadows on the face. Is that a red flag or a green flag? That would be a red flag. We want to understand lighting. That's like rule number one of becoming a model is understanding lighting. So if you're going to go and record something and you have all these harsh shadows and you haven't set it up appropriately to have that natural light on your face, red flag. Filming in front of background clutter in your kitchen so they get a front row view to what you're having for dinner and the flowers you bought at the store and the pile of dishes that you've yet to get to. That is a red flag. If you can't avoid that, please try. I understand every situation is different. Find the cleanest, blankest wall possible with decent light. If you have to go outside and film in front of a garage, if you have to go to a different location to film this with your tripod, please, I beg of you, it will give you better chances. Slating with good energy and confidence. Bring that energy, bring that excitement, bring that confidence. That would be a green flag. Adding a personal comment at the end of your audition. Thanks for watching. I hope you book me. Is that a green flag or a red flag? That's going to be a red flag. There is no personal commentary required. Just stick to the basics. Hold the pose for 2 seconds before you cut, and it's over. Yes. So, okay, I just answered my next one. Holding your smile or expression for 2 seconds after your slate, that's a green flag. Shows that you're not in a hurry. You're present, right? It's not like, oh, I can't wait to get this done. And also, I'm going to give you a lasting impression. You want to look a little bit longer at me? There you go. Wearing heavy makeup for digitals. We got eyeliner. We got false lashes. We got red lipstick, lip liner, blush, highlighter, the whole 9 yards. That's definitely a red flag. Filming your submission with the reader next to you in frame. We just talked about this. Red flag. Reader is going to be off camera. Submitting your tape 3 hours before the deadline. Green flag, red flag. What do you guys think? So if you submit 3 hours before the deadline, you're in the green. Remember, we talked about how submitting early is best because it shows that you took it seriously, and sometimes they might already have made their decision before the deadline. So if it's due at 1 p.m., the earlier you submit, the better. And it's definitely going to show your eagerness to work with them. Okay, so you want to show your acting skills. So out of nowhere, you just add a British accent during your slate to show your range. Is that a green flag or a red flag? I think it's kind of quirky. You might have a really good British accent, but there's a time and a place. And I think it would be a little off-putting, a little strange even. Unless they asked you to perform in a British accent, I would not throw it in there. Dedicating time so you can do multiple takes. That is my trick. I I if I have the time to do multiple takes, I will. And by having the time, meaning I make the time so that I have multiple opportunities to nail it right on the head. And then I watch them back and I critique and figure out what doesn't sound right, what doesn't look right, what lighting is right, what lighting is not. And I do multiple takes and I scan them all over, find the best, the strongest one, put a heart on it, and that's the one that I'm uploading to their Dropbox. Taking digitals with hot pink nails and distracting jewelry. Do I have any nail girlies in the house? I've always wanted to be a nail girly, and I am not because I model. I have to be ready at a moment's notice. Sometimes the bookings come in. So if you have hot pink long nails with diamonds and palm trees on them, or even just simple, they don't have to be long. Maybe they're just simple, but they're bright green, bright blue. It's a no. It's a red flag. You're not adequately prepared. There might be some clients who overlook it and they might say, okay, she needs to have her nails done this way before she comes to set. But I think the bigger picture is that it shows that kind of underlining that maybe you don't work as often because working models, I feel like, have to keep their nails very natural and clean. Clean looking. I love a good hot pink nail. I just haven't been able to do them in 10 years. I always stick to the color bubble bath, like a beigey pink. Keeping your look close to your natural bookable self. So if you went in to go take digitals and you decided to dye your hair or get a perm or put in highlights, any certain thing that's taking away from your natural. Now you can rock highlights. Maybe that's not the best example, but if you're going to turn around after your digitals and wear your hair a different way, then those digitals are no longer valid. They no longer represent you. So it is your most dialed back everyday look. That being said, there are some people who can wear their hair a multitude of ways, and we talked about this. I think you should have your picture taken all different ways. Men with beards, maybe they want to see a 5 o'clock shadow, maybe they want to see it clean shaven. So it's always really important to have those in your arsenal. If you're somebody who can wear braids, dreadlocks, wigs, straight, curly, you want to be able to capture all of that. But if you're submitting for a job, you don't want to go change your look after you've taken the digitals. Pay attention to what digitals you submitted because that is the look that they're expecting you to have. So keeping your look close to your natural bookable self would be a green flag. Submitting a selfie in response to a digital request, red flag. We talked about that. Sending in 5 different video clips instead of editing down to 1 would be a red flag unless they specifically asked for 5 different files. Submitting a tape that's 5 minutes long. Now, you might do all of this audition, put it all together, and then realize that it's too long. I would redo it. I would try to remember that they are fishing through a sea of auditions. And so short and sweet, right to the point. Any long pauses, cut it out. Now, it depends on the length of the monologue, I understand, but most of the time they're going to give you short little scenes, short little monologues. I think that the video that I submitted, that I got a call back for, which I announced at the beginning. If I can find it here. Where is it? I think it was maybe 12 seconds with a slate. Okay, no. 23 seconds. So under a minute. My little slate here. I had to act like I was disheveled, checking my reflection in a store mirror. And then all of a sudden, magically, my outfit changes. I like what I see. And I'm on the app interacting with an app. So 23 seconds and then it's over. But it took me about 30 minutes to do multiple different takes and then put it all together. So that's your breakdown of self-tapes and digitals. Again, just reiterating how important it is that we have a good understanding, attention to detail, understand what's expected of us, what a good digital looks like. But also remember, it's all about your own personal flair. So you can't follow a certain formula, I guess, but you can get yourself set up for success in many, many, many ways. So keep practicing, scout a location in your home that looks good for you, and be on the lookout for casting opportunities. I had a great time with you guys this evening. I love this workshop. It goes right to the end. So we are full max capacity at an hour, but I have left you my email and my Instagram if you want to reach out any further. And if you are available on Saturday, I'm teaching a workshop on skincare so that when we get behind the camera or in front of the camera, we feel good about the skin that we're in. We have a good understanding of how to take care of it and how to make it glow. Okay? All right. Love you guys. I will talk to you later. Best of luck to you all.